Hi, I'm Austin Griffith, and I want to run through my ideas about user experience in terms of onboarding for Web3 Ethereum dApps. Right now, there's a huge barrier to entry when you want to get in and use a dApp, and we really need to break that down to drive mainstream adoption. And there are two tricks there. I think one of them is probably generating ephemeral accounts in the browser, and the second one is allowing them to sign meta transactions, and we pay for their initial transactions. So let's kind of work through how that would work. First of all, we probably should jump over, bring me with you. We should jump over to metatx.io just so we can kind of work through what a bouncer proxy is. And I totally just made that word up by joining two things, so it probably will have a better name soon. Someone smarter than me will figure that out. But basically, you deploy a contract that says, these accounts, these whitelisted accounts, can sign meta transactions and then push them on chain, or a relayer can push them on chain and pay the gas, and then they will be executed by this contract. So what I've deployed is my bouncer proxy contract, and what that does is then I can share that, and this is just a refresher of bouncer proxy. You don't really have to worry about it too much, but basically an account with no ETH, we can see here's the account here, he doesn't have any ETH. He signs this, and then we just go ahead and whitelist him. And this guy does have ETH, and he owns his contract, and he whitelists him. So now this contract can go hit some other contract simply by signing a meta transaction and passing it to a layer. And we should see like a forward happen here, and we should see account upgrade here. But okay, so that's just a bouncer proxy. You should kind of know that if you're not familiar with bouncer proxies, hit metatx.io up. But let's jump over here. Let's jump back here. Okay, so now you're a dApp developer and you've built a dApp. And you have created, so I'm going to pass that bouncer proxy into my code here, so then my code can use it also. But let's say you've written this simple kind of stateless contract that lets people post songs and give props to those songs, right? So it's very much kind of Spotify powered. And I call it Ether Jam. That's my demo app. But this guy has ETH. Let's just kind of go through the UX as if you are someone that has MetaMask all installed and ready to go. So you click in, you go find a song that you want to share with people, you paste that in, you say add song, you confirm, it fires in there's the transaction right there, that's 0x78. It fires an event, and all the users should be able to see it. Let's log in as a second person, and you notice it's kind of filling in my information by getting it from Spotify, right? There's no username or password being entered here. This should be as smooth as possible. So this is for people that are already onboarded to ETH, so they've already got money, so they can just go ahead and kind of play the game of I'm posting up my content, I'm giving props to your content. We can see this transaction just went through. This guy sent a little ETH to this guy to give him props, right? To this guy to give him props. Okay, now what's the UX going to look like for someone who doesn't have MetaMask and doesn't have any ETH? Well, we want it to be as close to this as possible. And how are we going to do that? So to mimic this, I'm going to go ahead and fire up Safari. Or let's just pretend like you're browsing around Twitter and you see me tweet about check out Ether Jam, and you click in. What's going to happen, right? So let's see, localhost 3000. Whoa, look at that. Like you have an account. It doesn't have any Ether in it, but you have an account. But you don't care about any of that, right? But let's talk about what happened there. And if I go to account.metatx.io, it gives me a private key. And how does that work? Well, if you're using Dapparatus, it does all this for you. But it basically goes out, gets an account for you, and there's like this URL that saves the account for you. It generates the account, saves it as a cookie on that site, and then ships it to the secondary. You can generate it on your dApp also, probably a little safer to do that instead of you're passing around the private keys. But the point of having account.metatx.io is if dApp developers happen to want an ephemeral account to be able to go from dApp to dApp, It doesn't seem very secure, but I set it up just in case we want to do that. But okay, so you've clicked in, you have an account, you are ready to go. How is this going to work? Well, let's see. Let's connect with Spotify. Holy cow, look at this. I'm in the dApp. I'm using the dApp. I don't even know that I'm talking to the blockchain, but I'm pulling blockchain data, right? Okay, so I want to add a song. Now, this is the trick that each dApp is going to have to do a little bit differently. Remember that whitelisting that we had to do back on the bouncer proxy? We need to come up with some kind of metric of who we allow to transact through. My best example is always Gitcoin. They have developers coming in that don't have ETH that would love to start contributing to open source projects, and they have this huge onboarding, right? Why not just say, okay, developer, you signed in with GitHub. You then use this ephemeral account that we generated for you in your browser to sign your GitHub information, like probably a GitHub token that comes back like OAuth or whatever. And then you ship that to us and we can unwrap all of that and prove everything. We're going to go ahead and whitelist your account. So that would be this account here. So I'm going to do it kind of manually here just to go through it. Whoa, F5E, let's make sure that's right. Yeah, okay. So back over here to the bouncer, bring me along. Back over here to the bouncer. If I paste this in and add it, it's going to cost a little ETH, right? We have to sign that person on chain with some kind of whitelist. But this all happens in the background automatically once they meet some kind of metric. Like even they sign a CAPTCHA, that's probably good enough, right? Any kind of civil resistance you can set up is going to be good enough. The point is we want to give them an allowance and we want to let them start playing the app as smooth as possibly. Okay, so they are whitelisted to transact through the bouncer proxy automatically as they drop in, just because they've signed in with Spotify or something else. No usernames, none of that stuff, just directly into the app, right? Okay, so now they want to add a song. So let's just go ahead and grab some other song. So here I am. I came in from Twitter. I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but I do know about music, and I want to add into your dApp. Like, I want to provide value within the ecosystem of your dApp. So I paste in a Spotify link and I hit add song. And look at that, a transaction went through and my song showed up and the block key matches mine, but there's another one there, this kind of blue one. What is that? And what that is this one here. It's the bouncer proxy. So the transaction actually came from the bouncer proxy. The relayers took my meta transaction, shipped it to the bouncer proxy, and the bouncer proxy talked to the song's stateless contract and added it in. So if you were to do message.from or message.sender, you're going to get the bouncer proxy, and that's not good. You want to actually know who submitted it. So the onus is kind of on the dApp creator to do one more step and go read through the events of the bouncer proxy and figure out who actually sent it, right? So there's a little bit of work there, but mainly everything's taken care of with Dapparatus. And so so we posted a song, cool, and let's say someone else comes along like, hey, that's a cool song. I'll listen to that. Oh yeah, that was really loud, sorry. That was a really cool song. I'm gonna give you props. So they send a little ETH onto the chain. There goes the transaction. Now, something has happened here. This dude has made money. This dude actually has ETH now. This is where all the sirens go off for these ephemeral accounts. Something slides down. This is where we've got them, right? They've provided value within the app. They're hooked on the app. They're enjoying the app. And now they even have some ETH or some tokens. Now we run the education play. We say, boop, yo, you're about to lose this. This is ephemeral. And if you destroy this cookie or you lose this private key or someone else finds this private key, you're going to lose this money, right? So we run the education now. We talk about what it means to go download a wallet. Hey, go get MetaMask. Go get, any kind of wallet that is more secure than one that I just generated for you. And then we kind of sweep them over to that. We take all their tokens and bring them back to their new, like kind of a cold wallet. And then we log them back into here. And I think that is just the most smooth way we can bring this in. I think that there's probably another route of people who are just going to be listening. And there's probably another education play that has to do with the fiat on-ramps. And I think that that's just something we can't solve when it's a US law, right? So they'll have to go through some hoops, but Once they use the app, they kind of experience the app. Then we start running the education behind it. Okay, so finally, let's just real quick look at what it takes to put something like this together. If you are a dApp developer, you'll have to hook up to some kind of MetaTX layer. Hit up Bouncer Proxy, hit me up on Twitter, we'll figure it out. It's pretty simple, and it's evolving rapidly. There's a ton of people in the MetaTX space right now that all want to get this relaying layer going, and we're all kind of incentivized to get that to be decentralized. Right now it's just like this central server, right? And there's a lot of cool problems like the collision problem and others that we're trying to solve, so there's a lot of good work going on there. But as the lowly dApp developer, I can come in here and I can build a dApp really easily with Dapparatus, and I think I have it here. So Dapparatus is basically React components that I found myself using over and over again. And what you do is you kind of just npm install Dapparatus, and you bring in these components that are these, you use them all the time. Like you need something to go figure out what gas prices are. You need something to track your transactions. That's the little dude in the bottom right. Track what block you're on, stuff like that. You need something to load your contracts. You need something to parse your events. Like the things that you do this all the time if you're a dApp developer. Just go get Dapparatus, plug it in, start using it. It's open source. Please contribute. But when you set it up to do a transaction, say, let's go find out what happens when someone, where is that add song, right? So what happens when someone does the add song button? It's simply this TX wrapper, right? So the dApp developer did not have to do anything special to make these meta-transactions work other than wire up some meta-transaction endpoint, right? And then the whitelisting, and that's another thing that we'll have to work through, and it's going to be different for every dApp, and we'll kind of crystallize the standard around that soon. But within your dApp, you're already just setting up a transaction right here. Dapparatus is actually smart enough to detect whether or not this person has some ETH that they can spend, and whether or not they're an ephemeral account, and you don't have to code anything up around that. It detects it automatically to you and sends it to the right layer for you, which I think is super powerful for dApp developers, because all of this stuff is also evolving really quick. We don't know what it's going to look like even in 2 months, but there's probably going to be support within Dapparatus, and you'll just get the latest version, and hopefully it'll hook up to MetaMask and all the other things for you quicker. So from here, once you are hooked, right? Once you came in from, here we go, once this dude's hooked, right? He's earned a little ETH, he's enjoyed the thing, he's enjoyed the app, he's tweeting out to his buddies to come check out Ether Jam, and they're coming in here and they're submitting songs and providing value within the ecosystem. So now he's hooked, and we need to run the education on that, right? But then the next thing is the onboarding, the real onboarding. And I think that Alex Van de Zand's universal logins and Beltran's all aboard, there's a lot of really good work, just a body of work around what we do now, right? That the next step is basically we need to provide them with an identity. That's probably like an ENS with reverse ENS, so they don't have to worry about big long hashes for their address. They can kind of go from being Austin Thomas Griffith to being, let's see, if I go to, yeah, here we go. Here's another one. What happens if I go to nifties.io? And I'm going to have to be on the main net, aren't I? Instead of being Austin Thomas Griffith, I'm now austingriffith.eth, right? And that's an important piece. Like your identity is important, and an identity proxy is important, and probably a wallet with like M of N recovery. All that kind of stuff comes into play once they earn the ETH. But the point is, you want them to be able to drop right into the app, and you want them to use the app right away. And as a developer, you probably don't want to spend a bunch of work having to get that just right. So that's why we have Dapparatus and other tools around that. So thanks a lot. Check it out. Hit me up on Twitter. Check out those other projects like Universal Logins and All Aboard. We are really going to be driving UX, and I think this seamless approach is the best. Hit me up and tell me where I'm wrong. See you later. Thank you.